We are back with Professor Avromelik. What are we talking about tonight?
The development of language and script and its origins in at least one of the places in Jaffa and in Tel Aviv and all the way up the coast, the Phoenicians, the Phoenician coast, from Gaza, from Alexandria to Gaza to Ashdod and Ashkelon and Jaffa, up to Habonim, Dror, up to the Lebanese coast and to the Turkish coast, and then across over to Cyprus and Greece. It was the ancient travellers of the Mediterranean, and they called them the sea people, and some call them the invaders, Phonecian, or the Philistines, the Philistim, the invaders, the sea invaders. So that the whole region was taken over and used and traded, and the Phoenicians, interestingly, their vernacular may have been different from all the Greece and Europe and the Turkish areas and people that joined them. But what they became known for, that they developed a phonetic system to understand their trading partners, which were in Assyria and in Iraq on the Euphrates River and in Egypt on the Nile. So they developed a phonetic structure of understanding Sumerian, the great language of the ancient Assyrian civilization or Sumerian civilization, and cuneiform, another system which competed with Sumerian, and the Phoenicians came along and took almost like a phonetic record of the language and gave it a proto-alphabetic, a system of chords to tell the mouth how to pronounce that language. So it was an instruction to the mouth how to pronounce for people that didn't speak the language naturally. And that system of how to pronounce spread with the sea people into all of these ports around the Israeli side of the Mediterranean, being from Lebanon down to what is now Israel, to Gaza. And these influences, these linguistic influences, hybridized with the Israelite, the Hebrew influence for grammar and names. The Semitic tradition had a story of how names were important, nouns were important, and then how grammar became important. And interestingly, how the evolution of the Israelite God is complex, but it certainly did come in many ways as a philosophy of grammar, of language, because God's very ineffable name, Yud, Hey, and Vav, and Hey, are the keys of the Hebrew grammar. So that sorry, I've gone on a tangent.
Language.
So language, and what about language?
Is there a common language?
Is there a common
To communicate
language to communicate?
better.
Well, interestingly, the story of the Tower of Babel is about a story of civilizations speaking one language and then their united language was divided. It's actually interesting because whilst the Bible is no stranger to talking about curse or something which is negative, this act of the division of the nations into many languages isn't referred to as something necessarily negative, but rather it demonstrated contrast with the Tower of Babel, which was built by bricks. The actual reference to bricks, levana, is mentioned time after time in the story, 4 or 5 times, brick after brick after brick, that there was a single homogeneous construct in the building of their society, as opposed to great variety, because language is the forebringer of variety and complexity, and is looked positively upon by tradition.